What's going on, everyone? In today's podcast interview, I'm super excited to bring to you Jamison Philippi. He is a man with an absolute inspiring story, and he's someone who kind of popped up on the radar a while ago, back in the green room days with guys like Steve Rakin and Bonafide Hustler and the College Picker. And he kind of was down a pathway early in life that he himself admits was not something that he was very proud of. And definitely had a hard life, like struggled with things that he's going to talk about here in the future. But he has such an inspiring story. I really do admire all of the work that he's done to get to where he is now. So I want to say from the bottom of my heart, Jameson, thanks so much for being on the channel, man.
Hey, man, that's the best introduction I've ever heard in my life, bro. That was solid. Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. So can you give us a little bit of context? Because we did mention that, a little bit of context into sort of your early life, some of the struggles that you had early on, and kind of what was the first, when did you have rock bottom, and kind of what was the segue out of that for you?
Yeah, definitely, man. I guess, before I got into reselling, my last, real job, I was a waiter at Buffalo Wild Wings and just kind of going through life,
Yeah.
like the average person, working, going out on the weekends, drinking, having fun, just, you kind of live for the weekend kind of life. And I
Right.
think I was like part-time in college, community college at the time, going nowhere with that and just kind of just floating through life. And honestly, it was a buddy of mine, at some point, he introduced me to a game called World of Warcraft. He worked at TGI Fridays across the street from Buffalo Wild Wings. So like
Uh-huh.
we would get off the same shift on the weekends some nights, and we would go to his house and play World of Warcraft. And we started doing pills and stuff. Like he introduced me to Percocet, painkiller.
Okay.
That got you, pretty high. And I started getting into those, recreationally, and at the time I was selling on eBay part-time, just little stuff, video
Okay.
games, this and that here and there, just to make a few extra bucks. And, unfortunately the pills, took over a couple months. You're doing, you're having fun, they're feeling good. And then, you get to the point where it's like, all right, you're doing 1, 2 pills, then you need like 3, 4 pills. And then it's slowly just to get that same high, you have to keep going higher and higher with the pills. And,
Right.
over a year time span, it kind of just spiraled out of control where it's like, all right, I would do 1 or 2 pills a week to I'm doing 20, 30 pills a day.
Wow.
And,
Jeez.
that got expensive. And, pretty much over a couple year time span, my life just spiraled out of control.
Yeah.
Um, I got my eBay account closed down for doing stupid stuff, and then ended up getting fired from my job at Buffalo Wild Wings and got evicted from my apartment, moved back in with my mom, was getting it into her, stealing, got kicked out of there, left, would go to another, relative's house, was stealing from them. They found out, I had to run out of there. And I just kept going, couch surfing, just
Yeah.
pretty much ended up burning all my bridges, as far as friends and family, borrowed money from everybody that I could. And then, of course,
Yeah.
what comes time to paying them back, I'm not answering the phone, or
Yeah.
I'm broke. My phone's getting shut off, so I ain't even answering calls or getting calls. And
Yeah.
ended up going to rehab. I went to rehab 4 times over a 2-year period,
Yeesh.
and just kept spiraling down and down, doing more sketchy stuff. And then to get pills, and you open yourself up to being vulnerable to committing crimes and doing sketchy things, putting yourself in really horrible situations.
Right.
Around that, like you get desperate some days to find drugs, because when you're doing so many pills, like you go through withdrawals when you don't have them. If you have, you take your pills in the morning, like by that night, you're going through withdrawals if you don't have more. So it's like, sometimes it's hard to find pills. So like you start buying from sketchy people, and people will rob you. And I've had people run out with my money, sell me fake pills. I've had, just crazy stories. I actually just went back to Minnesota. I'm originally from Minnesota, and actually just spent a week in Minnesota last month. And it was the first time I had gone back in
Oh,
years. So
wow.
I took my girlfriend with me, and we went to all just the spots where all this started. And so like,
Yeah.
I took her to all the places, like it was cool. I actually took her to an old Kmart while we were there. And it was a Kmart I used to do drug deals in all the time.
Wow.
And then years later, when I got into Amazon, that was like one of my favorite Kmarts I used to source that. So it was
That's
cool, like
hilarious.
going back there, like how it came full circle. But eventually I
Yeah.
got sober, still sober off of drugs today. Um,
Congratulations, man.
Man, thank you, brother. Thank you, man. And yeah, after that, I still played World of Warcraft for like 3 years, like a loser. Lived in my basement.
No, dude, no,
Eventually got,
come on, man. Yeah.
I was a loser, bro. I didn't have a job, and I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. Went out, tried to find a job. Spent like a year trying to find a job. Nobody would hire me. I started doing eBay again. Slowly found the green room. Started Amazon. Grinded it on, for years. And, now we're in 2023, fast forward. And now this year, I should do about 1.5 million in sales on Amazon. So it's been an incredible ride. So it was all worth it, definitely.
Yeah, thanks so much for expanding on that story. And I was fortunate enough to finally meet you face to face in Miami in the Miami Sellers Conference back in 2023.
Yeah.
And you gave an awesome presentation. I'm not sure if you were able to post that video on maybe, Facebook or your YouTube channel or wherever, but really just inspiring story. And it also hits different when you're in person and you see some of the images. Cause like I'm not showing you images here, but I think you can all tell Jameson he's been through a lot and he's come to the other end. And it really is just an inspirational story because, I have had, things in my life as well. And everyone has issues or has challenges in their life, right? And some people have it way more difficult than you do. And it's just inspiring to see, especially people who have had situations that were way worse and you still turn around and make ends meet. So I think you expanded on a little bit. You said you were sick of being sick, but if you wouldn't mind just kind of telling us do you remember, was there like a turning point in your life where you're like, dude, I got to stop this? And there's like something that you put in the works to actually turn it around.
Yeah, definitely, man. So yeah, after I got clean and sober off of drugs, like I still, like I was just I'm a very addictive like personality. Like I just get addicted to something and it consumes my life. Thankfully now it's reselling and healthy,
Yeah.
thing to be addicted to. And I was addicted to World of Warcraft with pills at the same time. Got rid of the pills, but the thing that all the basically everything I think like my life was like, which I don't really share a ton. And it's like just I was going through like a ton of crazy childhood traumas, and like where I'm at now, and I'm working with a coach, and I've gone through, I've been working with a coach for a few years now, and it's like all this stuff stemmed back to just looking for escapes to not have to deal with stuff that happened to me as a child. And so, like I got clean and sober from drugs. And then I literally for like 3 years, like I was playing World of Warcraft in my basement, episode of South Park. Have you ever seen that episode? Just, and my life revolved around like my world, my whole entire existence existed in World of Warcraft. I built my life in that thing. And I would literally play from the moment I got up in the morning to the moment I went to bed for like 15 hours a day, every day. All my friends were on there. And honestly, it was fun for a while, but then it's like after doing that for like a couple of years, even just like miserable. It's the same old motion, just getting up and just you're miserable in the game now. It's like you're not even happy in fantasy land anymore, and I just kept on playing because I had built up my characters and my game and everything, and I built like it's called the guild, the club, or whatever. I'd built up a club of like 1,000 people, which was like the maximum of people you could build. And I was so like proud of that in-game accomplishment. And then like I even used to like this is how I kind of got it helped me with reselling stuff. And like you can buy stuff in an auction house in the game of World of Warcraft.
Okay.
And I learned what people wanted, and I would go to the auction house and I would buy out all the stuff that people wanted, and then I would reflip it on there for like triple the value. And I was like flipping stuff in game, and like so I didn't want to lose all the money I'd made on there, and like this group I'd built up, and my characters and the friends, and like I didn't want to let that go. So I played for like a year, just miserable because I didn't want to lose that. And it got to the point where it's like I'm miserable. All I do is eat crap food every single day, stuffing my face with garbage while I'm consuming garbage. And like I'm to the point where it's like I'm not even depressed. I'm just numb. I'm so miserable. And I just was like, all right, I gotta do something with my life. And so I would go out and apply for jobs, middle of the mall, PacSun, Lids, the Zoomies clothing type stores. And I would get all these interviews and nobody would call me back.
Yeah.
And eventually I had moved to Nashville. I was just sick of living in Minnesota. All my friends, relationships, all toxic, everything miserable and just depressing. And nobody was going anywhere. And I was going nowhere. And so I moved to Nashville. I was living in my friend's. He was renting a room. He let me sleep on his floor, and I stayed with him for a while. And I eventually found the green room. And the guy I was staying with in Nashville, I didn't even have the money to join. I didn't even have $100. Like he gave me $100 to join the green room.
Wow, dude, that's crazy. That's insane.
Yeah. So I wouldn't even join had he not given me, because I didn't have $100 to my name then. I was selling on eBay at the time, like a little bit, but nowhere where I could afford $100,
Yeah.
at all. And so it's just like, and even after I started reselling, I'm going through the motions of life and the reselling's going good. It's like, I'm still unhappy. I still had some unhealthy, toxic relationships in my life. Slowly as I was growing and reselling, like eventually I started growing personally too. And like getting into things about, self-development and, good mental health and good diet and stuff like that. And like, I
Yeah.
slowly started to change these things over, a few years. And I started to become more happy. And I realized like, okay, all right, now I'm growing, I'm becoming stronger, happier, and healthier. I've got to start cutting ties with the things that aren't serving me, getting
Right.
rid of close family members, close friends you've known your whole life. And
Yeah.
honestly, it was the greatest thing. It was a hard thing to do, but every day where I'm at now, I'm still growing every single day.
That's
Every day I'm
awesome.
always continuing to work on me and health and relationships and fitness and everything a little bit, and
Yeah.
now, I've cut off every just unhealthy relationship. Now I just don't, I'm a drama free zone. I don't deal with drama. People don't come to me with drama. Like even like,
Yeah.
like if you have like friends and like there's like some gossip or something going on, like people will come to the group and they'll talk about it. People don't even bring it. I don't want to
Yeah.
hear it. Leave me
Yeah.
alone. Happy life. I'm over here chilling, living my
That's
good
so
life,
cool.
and I don't need that. So
That's
it's
awesome.
been it's been a great growth, definitely.
Yeah, one thing I think that's really interesting that you talk about is especially when people start using and if you do get incarcerated for a period of time and you do go out and apply for jobs, it from at least from what I've heard, I don't have experience, but I know from what I've heard that well, I guess I should say I have family experience with that. Like not me myself, but family that has found it very difficult to go out and get a job because obviously, you're kind of ostracized, you're seen different in society and it's like who wants to hire someone that was a junkie or was in jail? But I think one of the opportunities of Amazon is like I don't think Amazon really cares about that, right? It's not like
No.
I mean, you can maybe expand on it a little bit, but what was it like, I guess, transitioning into the world, more of reselling in terms of, I guess, maybe not having to have that, people view you in that way because Amazon's kind of just like this, I don't know, this big black curtain or I don't know what it is, just like there's just no one there. You know what I'm talking about?
Exactly, like, Amazon doesn't discriminate,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't care, like,
Yeah.
you know, Je
Be the
Jeff
best.
Bezos just wants those Amazon fees, baby, he doesn't care where they're coming from,
Yeah.
so, yeah, man, so, like, while I was on my journey to find a job and not nobody hiring me, getting tons of interviews, second interviews, and just, that set me in another depression because, like, I felt like a loser,
Yeah.
continue to be a loser, it's like, I'm miserable, I don't serve no purpose on this planet. And it's like, I can't even get a job at freaking Walmart or Target to stock shelves, push carts. Like, dude, like anybody could do those jobs,
Yeah.
and I'm not good enough for that. And
Yeah.
so I was grinding eBay then, doing some
Yeah.
garage sales, going to thrift stores and going good and having fun. Honestly, I loved it. I wasn't making a
Yeah.
full-time income, but it like was my full-time income, it was my only
Yeah.
income.
Yeah.
And I loved it, like, the whole
Yeah.
journey of like, I still to this day, if I go to a thrift store or a garage sale or Target or Walmart and, like, I'm running down the aisles looking for the things, like, when I find cool, profitable, rare item, I still get, like, goosebumps, like, it's still like
Yeah.
a frickin', like, I
Yeah.
still get excited going out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I still am just as hungry today
Yeah.
as I was, 10 years ago or whenever I started,
That's awesome.
So, and that's the great thing about Amazon. There isn't, anybody could do it,
Anyone can get into it,
you
right?
could come from nothing
Yeah.
and still crush it and, build a great business, build a great life around it, and honestly meet some amazing people along the way doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I think is really important is you touched on cutting ties with family, cutting ties with friends who are negative influences in your life or are toxic. And, you specifically seems like, especially from your childhood and your upbringing, you might have had a lot of those and a lot more than some people have. But, I've even had this in my own life where you have, one or two people or a handful of people who are close to you who are just naysayers. And they're just like, no, you can't do this. Or they're judging you for like, this is illegal. Like, you shouldn't do this. This is morally wrong. So, what is your advice for kind of being able to cut ties with somebody who is kind of more toxic in your life? And so that, you can focus on being a better you and focus on Amazon and your business.
Definitely. I mean, that's it's very tough to do that, especially
Yeah.
because it's like, I had a really, really close family member to me
Mhm.
when I was building my Amazon. At the time, I couldn't have my own bank account because I had like screwed up all bank accounts, all credit cards
Yeah.
from back when I was doing drugs because I was trying to get money. So I'm maxing out credit. So I had creditors after me. So if I had my own bank account, they're gonna garnish my money and take my money. So
Yeah.
I was using a close family member's bank account for my Amazon payouts to go to
Yeah.
their accounts. And unfortunately, they also fell into drugs and had a gambling problem. So they would go and lose all this money, negative the bank account, and then my Amazon payouts would go to the bank account and go to be paying all those fees. And it got to the point where it's like I'm starting to get my Amazon payouts, 2, 3, 4 grand every 2 weeks, which is the most
Yeah.
money I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get starting to build some momentum and start build up
Right.
some payouts and start finding profitable items and building up. And this family member kept gambling their money away, doing drugs, whatever they were doing. They had a full
Yeah.
time job, and their rent was like $700 a month, and they made way more than that. But
Yeah.
every time the rent was due, they didn't have it. And then this
Jeez.
family member would literally call me up, like the rent's due on what, the first or whatever. They would call me up on like the 7th. Oh my gosh, if I don't get the rent money in 24 hours, I'm gonna be evicted. They would call me after they got all these fees tacked on. So the rent that was 700 is now like 1400.
Oh my
And it's
God.
like, if you don't pay, if I can't get this money together, I'm gonna be kicked out. It's like, just got a $2,000 Amazon payout. All right, here you go. Here's all my money that I just spent the last year building up. And then the next month, same thing. If I don't get the money, I'm gonna be kicked out. And it's just like, and you hear this stupid cliche saying, like, oh, that's your family. You can't turn your back on family. Like you hear that your whole life, like, oh, that's your mother, that's your father, that's your sister, your brother.
Right.
You gotta help out family. And it's like, at what point do you chop that off and say, no, like, I don't care who you are. You're
Yeah.
continually I'm trying to build my life and better my life. And you're
Yeah.
continually dragging me down with you, whether you're doing that consciously or subconsciously. And then this family member did it 3 months in a row. Same thing. I need money, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. I'm not paying your rent. I'm trying to like build a life here. I haven't, this is, I'm trying to build my Amazon
Yep.
thing going here. And the family member was like, fine, I'm just going to kill myself. Click.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And of course, I called back 30, 40, 50 times,
Yeah.
wouldn't pick up.
Yeah.
After like a day, didn't hear anything from them. So I called the police. Hey, can you go check on this family member? And they were fine. They were
Yeah.
playing their manipulated games to get me to
Yeah.
pay the rent. And of course, like a dummy,
Yeah. Yeah.
I paid the rent again. And then I told this family member, like, I'm done. I can't. I'm like, I'm really trying to build a business here. I'm like,
Yeah.
just please, like, I was like, this is a really close family member. And I'm like, let me build this. Give me a couple years to build this. Like, you can retire and I'll take care of you. Like, I'll pay all your bills. Like, this was the ultimate I gave them. Give me like 2 years to build this and grind. And you can quit your job in 2 years and I will support you. I will pay
Yeah.
all your bills for you. And they were
Jeez.
like, oh, 30 days later, guess what? I'm going to
Yeah.
get kicked out again. And I was, and I put my foot down. And
Yeah.
this family member got evicted from their house, lost everything.
Oh man.
And I'm pretty sure to this day, they still blame me for it. And at what
Yeah.
point do you cut ties with a family member?
Yeah.
Till this day, I guarantee you that this family member probably talked bad about me, and like their friends and other family members think I'm a bad person for turning my
Yeah.
back on family. But it's like, at what point do you walk away from that family member that's doing that to you?
Yeah.
Are you like? And so I did. I walked away, and I hadn't
Yeah.
seen this family member in over 10 years.
Wow.
And I left, and I'm pretty sure to this day, this family member is not happy with what I did to them, and it's probably my
Yeah.
fault, you know? And after doing that, that was the hardest relationship I had ever had to cut off, ever in my entire life. That was the hardest
Yeah.
person I ever had to cut in my life.
Yeah.
And after that, it became easy to cut people off.
I bet.
Oh,
Like that story. Yeah.
and so now it's like, fast forward, 5, 10 years later, it's like, I don't like, as soon as I see little signs of negativity, BS, like, it's like if I have a friend that's like continually like naysayer, negative, da 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 da, like, it's okay to find if you're negative, but it's like, if you're not trying to find a solution or if we can't talk solutions, like you keep coming to me every month, every few weeks with the same problem, you're not doing anything after like a year or 6 months or a
Yeah.
couple months. It's like, okay, at what point do we need to just cut and I go this way, you go this way? Because clearly you're not even putting in an effort to try to grow and get out of this situation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
honestly,
think
to me,
what
it's
you
easy to
did
cut them
was
off.
yeah, no, I think we did was the right thing to do. That's absolutely what I would do. And the good news is that you're living, you're living, you didn't let that person drag you down, right? And you're living your best life now. And you know, yeah, I think that's an important skill, right? People who go far in life and people who win, I think they're fair. And I think you obviously gave them more chances than they needed. And so, yeah, not that you need any more, reassurance, but I absolutely would do the same thing. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
applaud you there.
Yeah, most definitely.
Eventually you got into selling on Amazon from eBay and you found the green room. Didn't even have $100 to your name.
Yes,
So you
sir.
got to pay for the green room subscription. So I want to know, how the heck did you find the green room? I'm gonna take a guess. It's probably Steve Reagan, but maybe it
Yes,
wasn't.
it
Right?
was. Yep.
So you saw it
Yeah.
from the
So
YouTube channel. Yeah, go
yeah.
for it.
So I was reselling on eBay for years, on and off for, 5 years. And I had another buddy that resold, but I never knew anybody. I didn't know anyone did this. Like I didn't know reselling was a thing. Like my buddy
Yeah,
had been doing it on eBay for years. He told me about it and I started it. And then like, I've been doing it on and off for years. And like, it's like, dude, like one day I was like chilling at home. I was like, I wonder if anybody else does this. Cause I didn't know anybody that did this. I was like, I just went into, I was, dude, I should go check YouTube. Freaking typed in reselling, and then sure enough, Raken's video was what the first video that popped up, and then I started watching him. Like I remember I was watching him. He was like folding clothes, like he was doing his like clothing on eBay, and like there would be like 7 or 8 people in his live videos.
yeah,
And I remember I was like, "Hey, Steve, what's up?" And then he said, "Hey, what's up, Jamison?" I was like, "Oh my gosh," he said hi to me. Like, and then I think one of his videos he mentioned the green room, and then I had to like told my roommate it about or something, and he ended up giving me the $100 to join, and I joined, and I think I like within like the first like week I'd got my money back. Like it already like found an item that I learned about in the group and got my $100
yeah.
back.
Do you find? I'm curious. Do you find the green room to have been a major pivotal moment in your reselling career?
1,000,000%.
Yeah,
one million
crazy.
percent.
Me too, man. I was part of the green room as well. I just wasn't very active. I was in college at the time, but 100%. Like I learned so much from Eric, college picker, bona fide hustler,
Yes,
Steve
sir.
Raking. But yeah, it's kind of amazing how back then it was $100. Seems like a lot of money, but it made a huge difference. Like you said, in the first week that paid off. So let's talk about the green room. We often especially in Avery's boot camps talk about the importance of building relationships and how building a network of individuals can help you with sourcing, can help you with issues and problems you're facing, can help you with just finding other people who are doing the same thing that you're doing and kind of feeling lonely here, kind
Mhm.
of like, I'm here on planet Earth and there's people walking around me, but like nobody knows what I do and they think I'm all crazy. But there is like a niche, a subset of community out there. So, if you wouldn't mind walking us through, like, what is maybe, one of the or a couple of the relationships from the green room that have been long lasting that really have been life changing for you, if you saw them.
Yeah, yeah, that's one thing I love about the room. It's so crazy. I would probably say at least 10 of my best friends to this
Wow,
day that I talk
that's
to
great.
every day are from the green room.
It's
Like
crazy.
it is insane. Like
Yeah.
how people I'm still like really good friends with. Like I've got,
Right.
5 to 10 friends that I still talk to that I will fly out to their house once a year and I'll stay at their house. They'll fly to my house. If I'm on a
Well,
road trip, I'm always welcome to stay with them. We meet up
yeah.
in Las Vegas for ASD. And honestly, it's been amazing,
Yeah.
when I first right before I joined the green room, I was in a few free Facebook groups that I had found
Uh-huh.
also, and I would ask questions in there when I was a complete noob, like hadn't even shipped up my end. I remember just not people not being very helpful and like
Yeah.
even some people being really, really rude and just
Yeah.
jerks. And it got to the point I'm like posting in these groups, please someone help me. I will pay you money. I need help with this. I don't know how to do it. Can you help me? I'll give you money. And I just
Yeah.
remember people being rude to me. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do this and I'm going to
No.
help people and I'm going to
Yeah.
share. And so when I joined the green room and everybody was so loving and caring
Yeah.
that I literally just was posting my journey, the whole journey. Like I'm at
Yeah.
Target, like when, polos weren't even a thing. And I'm like, hey guys, I
Yeah.
found this at Target. Here, go and grab it. It's like, and like I would share almost everything I would find in the green room so people could run out and go find it and make money. And, just sharing and just, sharing my journey and people, being in there for years, sharing my journey and everything and all my struggles and all my wins. It's like you build a community around that. And it's like everybody else, it's like you give. It's like, I believe that's like if everybody gives, everybody will have. So it's like you
Yeah.
share, then everybody else
It's
is
so
sharing, then
cool.
everybody's
Yeah.
winning,
You know,
and thankfully all those blossomed into some really good friendships.
yeah. One of
To
the
this day.
most notable ones, obviously, being Steve Raking, because he's kind of the guy who got you into reselling. He's still really big in the community. I know you guys are great friends to this day. I remember back in the day, you guys would shoot videos together. You'd be at Steve's house, and you guys would always be together. So, what's maybe one or two things that you learned from Steve that has stuck with you from the beginning till now?
Oof, good question, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, I remember just, the first time I'd went to the green room meetup, I met Steve, we had small talk here and there. And And remember, like, Mike talk a lot because there's a bunch of people around and he's talking to everybody and, making everybody feel welcomed and loved and all that stuff. So I remember, like, I had ended up taking like a road trip to the East Coast the very next year. And Steve actually like invited me to like stay at his house or whatever. And like I stayed in his garage and he let me ship in his garage. And, we started making videos and stuff. And like, he just, he's always been just super welcoming. And, like every time I'm in that part of the country, he'd always let me stay at his house. We would shoot videos and have fun, go out, we would work out, we would juice and just, he really just, helps me, because he has a lot of the same interests I do. So, fitness and juicing and being healthy. And we would just do those things together. So we'd both be learning simultaneously all the things we've learned about juicing and fitness and reselling. And, he's definitely helped me a lot. And, I remember him being one of the people that like helped me a lot with like Periscope in the beginning when I started.
Oh my God, Periscope! I remember those days.
Yeah,
Periscope, we just fell off a cliff though, right? Like, didn't do
it did. It did. And I remember I was doing Periscope with you back in those days, and he inspired me to do that, and I made a lot of friends doing that, and built a lot of relationships doing that, and I was just with Steve at the in Oklahoma last week, and so we see each other a few times a year, and he's always just been a brother to me, man. He's honestly one of my best friends, and I've learned just him with starting the green room and everything like that. He's just always been there and just helped me out, and I'm doing things now that I'm doing. I'm working on a group right now, and he's helping me, kind of giving me guidance. I'm like, okay, this hasn't worked for me in the past. Here, you should try this. Here's what you do to screen people. Like, so I'm like, he's coaching me along the way of like how to like start my own group, because I truly miss, like, there's no group out there in the reseller world that's like, there was only one green room. Like, to this day, I've never found anything even close to that community sense. And I'm like, man, I miss that so much. And like, even when I meet up with green room members from time to time, or we chat on Facebook, we're like, I miss that. You don't get that anymore. And I'm just like,
we gotta picture the green room revive. That's the new group, the green room revive. Also shout out to Green Room Life. I'm sure you're in that as well, right?
I still am.
The subgroup of the green good times. Let's actually finally talk about Amazon and what you actually do in your business model. So if you didn't know, Jameson's probably got to be in the top 0.1% of people on earth that's driven total miles driven, because this guy, he'll show you a map of every place in the United States that he's been. And literally, you can't even see any of the states because there's just so many little bubbles that literally every Walmart and Target and everything that he's been to. So could you talk to us a little bit about how you stumbled on RA specifically and why you still love RA so much?
Yeah, definitely. I started doing RA, kind of like locally, like everybody else did. And my first like RA road trip was actually on my way to a green room meetup. One of the first green room meetups I went to. I'm like, dude, like, because a Resale Rabbit, he used to go around to the country, doing thrift stores, traveling the country. And when I first joined the green room, he was actually traveling through Nashville, where I was at the time. And I actually invited him to come stay with me, and he stayed with me. I don't even know, for 3, 4, 5 days or something like that. And we just went out every day thrifting every day. And he inspired me to like, dude, like, he does this thrifting, like, no, I should do this RA. And then a couple later, the green room meetup in Austin came up. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna freaking source my way there. And I had sourced my entire way there and like just crushed it. Was finding stuff, and it was so cool, and I had so much fun. And that really inspired me to start traveling and do RA. And fast forward to today, I've done RA in 45 states, 3 countries, and I've shopped at over 7,000 retail stores in the United States.
That's crazy.
I love it. I do OA too. I do some wholesale, and honestly, RA is probably not the most profitable part of the business. It's just the most enjoyment. Like I said, like, I still get excited going out to find deals. Like, I love to travel. I love shopping. I love eating food. And, growing up, we were super poor, and now I can travel and like do all the things I wasn't able to do when I was a kid. So like, I just love getting in the car and just not planning a trip, getting in the car and driving and just shopping wherever I go.
Yeah, very cool. So for those of you guys who are new, maybe not new, but maybe have not heard RA. RA is retail arbitrage. So basically, Jameson's going to big box retail stores trying to find products in, Walmart, Target that you can sell on Amazon because they're more expensive there. So that's what RA is. I should have clarified that in the beginning. You have these massive road trips, man, where you're like, oh yeah, I'll be gone for 3 weeks. And they're like, what? You're just gonna drive for 3 weeks? Like, how do you know where you're going? How do you know, if you're gonna stop at this Walmart or this Target? Can you talk to us a little bit about the logistics, about how you plan out such a long and extensive trips? And do you ever get to like, oh man, I missed that one Target off the 87, or you know what I mean? Like, how do you go about planning such massive trips?
Man, this is like, honestly, like I am not a planner at all. Like, I don't like structure. I don't like planning. Like, I literally will, pack the day before a trip, get all the supplies, clothes, everything I need for the trip. And I'll literally get in the car and be like, okay, I want to go to Texas. And I'll just get in the car and I'll drive. Don't rent. I'm not booking hotels. I'm not booking Airbnbs. I don't know where I'm going to shop. I have an idea of the stores I like to shop at. Like if there's a sale, clearance, closing or anything like that. Like I've got a rough idea, but there's no plan that gets me from point A to point B. Like
wow,
in the car, I drive and I just use my gut, my instinct. Like, oh, that store looks like good. Let me stop there. I'm doing good here. I'm finding stuff. Then I'll continue to hit those stores and continue to sweep up. And literally, I won't. The vast majority of the time, I won't book my hotel until like an hour before I get tired. Like, oh, I'm starting to get tired. All right, let me look where a hotel's at, and I'll book, and then stay there. I learned this from Tony Robbins. Is like he was like in one of his seminars I went to called UPW, and he was like he talked about embracing uncertainty and like embrace going in, and I just took that to heart and like magnified it by like 1,000. So like I'll really like just get in the car and I don't plan anything. Like I have like 1 or 2 points on the trip that I got to do on certain dates maybe. But other than that, like, all right, I've got 4 weeks that I'm wide open. All right, let's get in the car and start shopping. We'll just, get back here. We'll get back to this point in 4 weeks.
That's incredible. And the embrace uncertainty, I think is key, because when there's uncertainty, you have to find solutions to problems that you don't know are going to happen. Right. And so in this case, it's probably why you're such a good problem solver now, is because if you literally don't know you generally know where you're going, but if you don't know specifically where you're going at what time and what's around you in terms of like where you're going to stay for a hotel, where you're going to eat, like you got to solve problems. And I'm sure on the road trips, crazy things have probably happened before, or it required you to find, solutions. Now, on your trips through all these retail stores, you probably have a long list of replens, things that a replen from out there is just something that Jamison has sold in the past and knows that it's good if he finds it at a store. So he might have some replens at Target, says, all right, yeah, these 7 or 8 items, I'm looking for these items because I know they're going to do great on Amazon. But there's also those BOLO items. BOLOs, be on the lookout. So there's something that's maybe popping this season that is super inflated in price. So how do you go about, going in the store and like, kind of balancing, like I'm looking for replens, I'm looking for BOLOs, because it seems like there's just a sea of opportunity. There's so much out there, the shiny object syndrome. How do you kind of get focused on like what you're looking for?
Yeah, it can be very challenging focusing. And I used to struggle with that because it's like I would be like this last road trip. And now I've gotten fairly good about focusing on what I'm after. Because this last road trip that I was on, I was, sourcing, it was kind of slow. I was probably doing average to below average. And like I had someone, message me, hey, this store is running a half off clearance on top of clearance sale next week, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then like 2 days later, another friend hit me up. All right, this store is doing this. And then I stumbled across the sale. So like over like a span of like 4 days, I found like 5 different like leads that I could have literally sourced my whole entire trip around. Yeah. And it's so hard to like, okay, I'm going to do that. I would have loved to have done them all. But then you have to think quick. Okay, which one am I going to be able to, where am I going to get the most product and the most profit from? And I'm going to stick with that, because all these are great opportunities, but which one is the best? And, I was like, all right, I'd already planned on what I wanted to do at the beginning of this trip. I made my plan on what I wanted. And I just, told my friends like, hey, I appreciate the lead. Unfortunately, I'm chasing this. I want to go after this. I don't have time to go after these. I wish I could. It's just not. So I was able to sweep across all the nice leads that people have given me and just focused on my thing, because there'd be trips in the past where I'd like, all right, I'm going after this lead. Oh, someone gave me a new lead. Okay, let me go over here. Oh, this was a crappy lead. Let me go back to my lead. Oh, there's a new lead. And then you end up zigzagging into all these stores, all these locations. And at the end of the day, it's like, I didn't do very good. I got a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, but I could have got a massive amount if I would have just stayed on my path. And something I don't know if you know who Steven Peterson is. He used to be in the green room. OG.
I remember him. I didn't have a relationship with him, but I remember him. Yeah.
But I remember one time I went out to his warehouse to visit him. He would let me ship there back in the day. We became really good friends, and he gave me some really, really good advice. And it was so long ago, I don't remember it exactly to the T, but it was something along the lines of like being able to focus on what you're good at and what you're doing. Like there may be profitable things that come across that are off the beaten path, but it's like sometimes you just need to focus on what you're doing and not go off. And then like he was saying all this stuff, which started to click to me because so many times I would jump off the path I was on, and then something bad would happen or it wouldn't work out as I'd planned, and then I couldn't refix it to go back on my path. And it was like sometimes you just got to focus on what you're doing, what's working for you. If it's working for you, continue to do that. And sometimes you don't need to jump off all these paths. You don't need to be everywhere at once. And like it was just kind of like paraphrasing, like 15 minutes worth of advice. And but to this day, like that was like 5 years ago. It's still stuck with me. And like I really like honed in to learn just to focus on what I'm good at, what I'm doing, and just continue to double down on what that, like, I don't need to try all these things, private label. Okay, personal kill, this type of OA.
There's so much stuff.
There's so much that your head could explode. Yeah. So you sometimes just got to try to like clear it all out. Just focus at what you're good at and double down on that.
That's great advice. And I find myself also sticking to that advice, having, I read this really great book called A Pumpkin Plan. I'm not sure if you ever heard of it. It's from an author, Mike Michalowicz, but it's essentially like, if you think about the farmers that grow the biggest pumpkins and they compete in those competitions, like they're not focused on strawberries. They're not focused on anything else but the exact dirt, mixture of sandstone clay of the previous winter and where the seed came from the previous 10 winter. Like they're hyper focused on one thing. And so that's a book that I really recommend. I mean, it doesn't seem like you need to read it anymore because you've got that key lesson, but I specifically, that was a major book for me with, making sure I'm just focusing on what I do, which is online book arbitrage. Now, one thing that popped in my mind that I just remembered about the green room is that I actually made my Facebook account just so I could join the green room because I didn't have any. Okay. It's cool that there's like all these stories about the green room and how special it truly was. Next question I have for you is, undoubtedly you've had to deal with IP complaints, probably even counterfeit claims here or there. And obviously you source specifically from, or not specifically, but a lot of your inventory is sourced from retail stores. What's interesting though is that you have some wholesale and also some online arbitrage mixed in there as well. So could you maybe walk us through some of the IP complaints or the counterfeit claims that you have had, and kind of how does it vary in terms of getting those, removed when it's OA versus, an OA receipt versus an RA receipt versus like wholesale stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. Every single like store, I'll just use like Walmart, for example. Like Walmart is a fairly easier, like if I get a complaint from a customer, say the customer's like, oh, this item's fake. And I bought the item from Walmart in store, like their receipts generally are on the easier side of getting the claim removed because Walmart will put the UPC. They'll usually put a weird, title sometimes, but they'll put the UPC. So it's a little bit easier to match the UPC to the listing if the UPC is, on the listing. Like generally you can point that out to Amazon. They're like, okay, cool. That's easy. Those are a little bit easier to remove. But sometimes you'll, like if you buy from like, let's say like, gosh, what store is weird with it? Sometimes also Target. Sometimes Target ones can be challenging. So thankfully with Target now, like if you buy in store, make sure that usually I pay with my Target wallet. So that way I'll also get an online receipt. Because sometimes Target receipts be challenging because they use their DPCI, whatever their like UPC SKU code. They won't put the UPC. And sometimes it'll be like, like let's say, I don't know, say water bottle. It'll just say like water and then like say a weird code. And like Amazon's not going to be able to get that title and that code back to the Amazon listing. So usually what I'll do first is if I do get a complaint from an item I bought at Target is I'll scan what I do. Here's a little tip. Every item that I buy retail arbitrage in store at Target, I will scan it with my Target app and it'll pull up. If there's a Target listing for it online, I'll hit save. So that way I always have that listing saved in my app because if they ever get rid of that item, that listing's gone. So that way I can at least tie the DPCI to the item. So I can say, here's the Target listing this item's tied to. Well, guess what? The Target listing always will put the UPC in their online, on the website. So you can tie that back to the Amazon listing. So Amazon always just needs like a little chain of, okay, is this item legit? Where'd you get it from? And can you tie it to the Amazon listing? So that's like the way I've been able to fight, complaints from Targets. So sometimes like I will try to sometimes even avoid items at Target I mean, not all the time, but like if I scan the item and it doesn't pop up on the website, sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ugh, I don't know if I want to buy it because
Yeah.
there's no target online listing. I'm not going to be able to really fight this because there's no proof, to show that this XYZ234 code is this item on the Amazon listing. It's not going to probably work. So it's
Right.
like I'm just a little bit careful about stuff like that.
Yep.
But usually, like when you're doing wholesale and stuff like that, those are always usually fairly easy
Yeah.
because you have all the information there, the UPC, the ASIN, everything's on there.
Right.
Nice, pretty cookie cutter way to get rid of the complaints from customers anyways.
So what is the way that you're actually keeping all the receipts? Do you actually take photos of all of them and they save them digitally? How does that work?
I'm actually horrible at doing this.
Oh,
My girlfriend actually does the receipts
cool.
for us. I have like a scanner and stuff, and then all the like wholesale stuff. Like they'll always email me a copy of it, and I just save it, put it in a folder on my computer.
Yeah.
So that way, 'cause, like, I'm horrible at like bookkeeping with the receipts. All right, get this scanned in. Okay, boom, we need to put these in order. Like I'm the worst at that. So
Yeah.
she's been good about, she's, been pushing me for like a long time. Like, let me take care of the receipts. Let me do this. I used to do this on my job. I can do this. Okay, fine. All right, you do. 'Cause I'm horrible at it. Clearly, all my receipts end up in the trash bag or something or in a box.
That's awesome. Now, what's interesting is that my realm is online book arbitrage. So I buy books on Amazon and resell them on Amazon. Part of what I do is set keep alerts to find used books. I know you've also had some experience setting keep alerts for new products that Amazon specifically sells themselves, because maybe it's a Lego set that, I don't have experience actually doing this because I don't do it, but I understand how keep alerts work. So, maybe there's an Amazon Lego, and there's a Lego that box that Amazon's selling, and maybe they can fluctuate between, $40 and $80, and sometimes they'll drop the price down to 40. And I know you can buy some. And can you walk us through kind of what's your strategy for setting those keep alerts for the new items? How do you deal with storing them? How do you deal with like trying to make the guess as to like how long is this product? How long does it get be for me to store this thing before I can send it back in and actually make profit on it? Because it's a whole world, right? It's a whole thing that you can do.
Definitely. Oof, yeah, there's a lot of directions you can go with that question. So I've stopped for the most part doing where I buy from Amazon at full retail price and then turn around and wait for them to sell out and then sell it back on Amazon. That I used to do fairly decent with that, a couple of years ago. That was probably one of the main things I used to do. And then Amazon just gets better at, making these product lines last longer, stay in stock better. If they're out of stock for like a little bit, it's like a lot less time. And so I had stuff that I got burned on pretty bad. Like I had to hold stuff for 2 years and then I'm having to sell it for 50 to 70% loss after holding it 2 years. Yeah, it's been burned, going through all my holds. I'm just like, this business model, this portion of the business model is not working for me. I'm not making money. I'm losing money. I'm tying up money for a year, 2 years, and I'm selling it for a loss or break even after that. All right, it's time to adjust. We can't really chase the full price items, but anytime I find a rare item at the store, whether it be a mom and pop toy store, mom and pop video game store, Target, Walmart, whatever, I don't do this every time I buy it. Like I'll sell a bunch of items for a few months, rare stuff, and then like one night where I'm just chilling at home watching a movie, having a glass of wine or whatever, I'll log on to my inventory lab and my old Amazon listings, where I'm deleting my old listings. I'll just start pumping in. I'll start clicking all the ASINs, and I'll just go quick throw them into Keepa. Like, because I know Amazon hasn't been on these items probably let's say a year or 2 years they've been out of stock. I'll just throw a keep alert because I was like one night I did that like 3-4 years ago. I was like, I threw out like 200 keep alerts over like a 3-hour period watching a movie. And then like a month later, I got a keep alert went off on an item Amazon was slotted for 3 years. They came in with like 17 units, bought them for like 30, turned around, flipped them all for like 100. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is freaking cool. Like I did 3 hours worth of work for that payoff. So I just do that all the time now. Every couple of months, I'll just everything rare that I find, I'll just throw it in the keep alert. And then I would say 95% of the time, Amazon never comes back in stock on it. But it's like, easy work. I could do it while I'm chilling watching a movie, and then I might get a nice payoff, one day.
Yeah.
And I've had some pretty good hits, doing that, with Amazon, where they come in stock, say they find a pallet of a rare item, and I'm able to scoop up all of them, and then they're out of stock again for 2 years or whatever, and then I'm able to sell them at my markup.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's actually quite a few books that do that as well. I remember this one particular book as well that was a book that Amazon never sold. It's a third party new seller that sold it, and it was sold for 40 to 50 bucks. They went out of stock for like 4 years, and then there's completed, like there's basically sales rank drops when the collectible and used prices were like the $300 to $400, and then someone came back in stock with like 50 units, and that wasn't crazy. Like you only bought 10 of the 50, but all 10 of those did really well. After all those sold out as well. So it's cool how that strategy can work, but like you said, it is a gamble, right? Because no one has a crystal ball. You have no idea.
Yep.
Amazon really found a hidden palette, or if they're like, hey, we're back in stock for the next decade.
Yep.
You never know, right? And so it is kind
Exactly.
of a Russian roulette kind of thing, or you just have to. But going back to your comment of sitting on the couch there and kind of just relaxing, enjoying the time, you have got to be one of the guys with the strongest or the most incredible work ethics I've ever seen, definitely in the reselling game. Resell Rabbit also someone up there that I think of as well. But he kind of just talk about, you always having this work ethic and going out there and doing so much, but then being able to sometimes just relax a bit. Because something I personally, struggle with sometimes, where I feel like, I'm a new dad, I'm a high school chemistry teacher, I flip books, I have a YouTube channel, like there's all these things I'm doing. And I feel like sometimes I just need to like sit down and relax and just,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's tough. It's challenging, like it's like, say you're taking a day off or like an evening off, you're trying to chill and it's in your brain. There's always something to do.
Yeah.
You can always thumb up more YouTube videos. You can always, do more keep alerts. There's all like, it's like the mail. It never stops.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I struggled. I used to struggle with this so bad. And, the coach, I have a self-development coach that I've been working with for a few years now. And, he would start challenging me, like, kind of like helping me over a period of time to learn when to, okay, it's time to shut the freaking lights off, have fun. Like, because I felt so guilty taking a day off because there's always something to do. You will never run out of stuff to do in your Amazon business. And then you got your kid, you got school, teacher, you have YouTube, and all you have like 5 different things. And it's like, you could always do something in one of those areas. And it's like, when can I have some time for me? And so, I remember like we had a discussion one day. He's like, you know what, Jamison? Like, I challenge you. Like, after this phone call, take the day off. You go out, you do something for you. You do something that you want to do. Don't worry about the price, whether it could be free, it could cost money, whatever. You do something that you enjoy. Okay. Work. Don't do anything today of work. Don't answer emails. Don't go out and buy anything. You're going to keep, don't buy anything. Do something you want to. And he was like, this is your, because every phone call, he gives me a weekly challenge. And that's like something awesome to help me grow. And so he would challenge me, okay, go out and have fun. Write all the fun things you did. And then, say you go out for a nice steak dinner, send me a picture of that dinner. Let me see. Go eat like a king today. Go to the movies. And I was sending him all these pictures of all the things that I did fun. And it kept me occupied to let him know everything I was doing, to not like work. And then, over a short period of time, I was able to get that to where it's like, okay, it's time to shut this off. It's time to enjoy myself and do something that I enjoy. I still struggle from time to time where it's like, because I love shopping. I love doing Amazon stuff.
It's
I love
addictive, like you said. It's so fun. Right? It's so much fun.
It really is. So sometimes but you need to rest. Like you have to have a balance, like where it's like, okay, your body needs to rest. Like if your body, like if you have headache, you're sore, you're anxious, your anxiety, whatever. It's like all these symptoms that your body's telling you something's wrong. Okay. You should listen to it, do something for you, take care of yourself, do something you enjoy, whether it's with your loved ones or by yourself. Like you have to do things that you enjoy. Like, what is the purpose of all this stuff? Like, if you don't get to do anything you enjoy. So it can be challenging. Definitely. I know a lot of us struggle with that because it's like you're doing Amazon, you're an entrepreneur. So you have like a different type of brain where it's like, go, different brain. It's like, even when I relax, I'm sure you get this too. Say you're just chilling, watching a movie or something. It's like your brain is still like, it's hard to shut that off. I'm sure it's sometimes like, even when I go to sleep, I don't know if you have this, like, even when I'm sleeping, it's like my brain just wants to keep going. It's like, I'm probably just like, I'm sleeping. Probably missing the keep alert. There's probably a sale.
I do. 100%. It's like I'm trying to take a little time off. And I notice the keep alert. It's hard not to look at it because you're like, it could be that one, right?
Slam the flip of a lifetime.
Yeah, exactly, man. All right. Well, we are getting to the end of this. I'm a high school teacher and I work with hundreds of students. This is my 7th year teaching. I've come across, students of all backgrounds and all challenges in their lives, students that are, doing amazing. They'll go on to do amazing things without my, influence at all. Then I have a lot of, middle of the pack, students who will figure out life. And then I have, a subset of students who have really hard lives. And it could be anything from, drug abuse in the home to, things I won't mention, but really hard lives. And there's some students who don't feel that school necessarily is for them, right? That school will lead to a life that they want. And so I guess my question to you is, for some of the students or for some of the young people out there who maybe are in their life or on a path that, to no fault of their own, it's because of their upbringing, they're on this path that's not something that is healthy for them or that something that they're wanting. What is some of your advice, having, been through some of that, to help maybe, some advice for them to get out of that or to try to make improvements for themselves?
Great question, man. I love that. Yeah, man. I will say, kind of put myself back in that to where I came up, super just poverty mindset. Like everybody, everybody's on welfare. A lot of people are committing crimes and just doing illegal things to survive and eat. And, there's just a lot of a lot of negativity. And people get this stupid, it is stupid. I will say that like this, that it is what it is. This is just life. This is just how it is. And it's like so many people, like I'm so blessed and thankful and like lucky that I was able to get out of that and like look back and like, from time to time, like I'll get some insight of some people from back in the day. And it's like, they're still there mentally.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you've been living like, unhealthy mentally and like, for 30 years now, like you're still out committing crimes. Like I'll like, like sometimes I'll just kind of peep on some old friends' Facebook groups, like, once a year, I'll just kind of chill, just go see like friends that were like a big part of my life growing up back, when I was doing dumb things, just living an unhealthy life. And they're 40 years old. They're still doing it. Yeah. Like I'd seen this one friend, he's like 40 years old. And I was like, oh man, I just beat the charge. So I'm going to go out and celebrate today.
Oh my God.
You're still out committing crimes, bro?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, you don't have to like, it is what it is. Like I have so many people that use that thing, like, oh, it is what it is. It's like, no, you can change. You don't have to live that way. You can get out of that. I'm living proof that my whole life, I was around drugs, violence. I've had my best friends in my life murdered. I know tons of people that have been killed. I have people that have been killed by cops. I have friends that have died of drug overdoses. Like your story isn't written out when you're born, the situation you're born in. Like we can't control like the environment that we're born into. But like once we grow up, if we continue to stay in that, that's 100% our fault.
Yeah.
Like, and it's very hard to get past that mental, of being in that situation that it's like, once you grow up, that is 100% your responsibility to get you out of that situation. And the hardest part for people like that, I think, is that it's hard to take personal responsibility. Like I said, when you're a child and you're growing up, that's not your fault. You can't fault for your parents, the environment you're born in, not having this, not having that. That's not your fault. And I truly feel for those people that are in that because they don't know any better. And they learn all this from their parents and they grow up and they do all these dumb things because their parents did dumb things. And then they kids and they teach their kids. It's like a generational curse. They just continue to live that. And it's like, once you go to it, you're an adult and you're still doing that. Well, guess what? Now it's your fault. Like now you're just being a dummy. Like you've got to take personal responsibility. And this is one thing that I learned from Gary Vee. And I learned this probably back in, probably like under 10 years ago, like, everything in your life is your fault. He has this paraphrase thing, but like the way he said this, it's like, it's your responsibility. It's your fault. You're in this situation. Like the way it was like he was speaking to me and it hit me. I was like, you're right. Like I'm a grown 30-year-old man. I'm still blaming past relationships. I'm blaming my parents. I'm putting the blame on everybody why my life sucks. And it was like, I'm a grown adult. I can make the changes now. I don't need need to have this net on me and just continue to have this blame victim mentality. This is my fault. I'm a grown ass man. I'm a grown man. This is my fault. I can change this. I have every tool, every ability. You can learn almost anything with Google and YouTube these days. Our fault is crazy. You can learn anything. Like the thing is that we live in such a crazy time. And then I think we live in the best time to be alive. That if you have a cell phone and an internet connection, you could build almost any business, any style. You could build a YouTube channel, a TikTok channel, an Amazon business, eBay business, and you could make a living doing these things. So it's like, I think we live in a time where we have less to complain about because there's so much more opportunity now. Literally, you could be the dumbest kid in the world You got a phone. You could figure something out. Go start a YouTube channel about something you're passionate about. You could grow that. I guarantee you. If you like, this is something I learned from Gary Vee too. He talked about. He's like, dude, you could like earthworms. These, I bet you there's a bunch of other nerds out there too that like earthworms or something like. And it was funny and cool the way he said it. It's like it's so true. Anything you're passionate about, you could probably start a YouTube channel and probably find 50,000 other people out in the world that love to do that. So honestly, man, that's it. I don't know if that's good advice or not. I'm
That's great.
kind of went off in every little way there, but
it brings us full circle. And just want to say thanks so much for coming on the channel. You're a huge inspiration to me. I know a lot of people out there as well. So last opportunity I want to give to all the audience members is that, Jamison is a guy who, if you approach, he's going to talk to you. He's a very genuine person, as you can tell from this interview. So Jamison, if you wouldn't mind telling people where can they find you, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you got that people can reach out to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm super active on Instagram and Facebook. I post almost every single day. Just my name, Jamison Philippi.
I'll link it down
below. I do have a YouTube channel. I do go live on YouTube, not as much as I'd like, but I do go live on YouTube and just talk shop and answer questions and stuff like that. So my YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook are all Jamison Philippi.
Sweet.
And definitely, brother. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on the channel, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.